In this tutorial, we're building a fully modular AAA-style interaction system in Unreal Engine 5 with interactable objects, clean UI prompts, and reusable blueprint component logic you can plug into almost any project. Full project files are available on my Patreon below. Let's get started. In the content drawer, right-click and create a new widget blueprint named WBP Interaction Prompt, then open it. Add a canvas panel as the root widget. Next, add a border and set its anchor to the center of the screen. Set the position to -96 on the x-axis and 187 on the y-axis. Set the size to 202 by 60. Enable size to content and set the padding to 5. Change the brush color to black and reduce the alpha value to 0.55 to create a semi-transparent background. Add a horizontal box inside the border. This will act as the main container for the interaction prompt. Add a size box as the first child of the horizontal box. Set the right padding to 5, then set both the width and height overrides to 40. Inside the size box, add a border. Set the brush tint to black and change draw as to rounded box. Set the outline color to white with a width of 0.5, and use fixed radius for the rounding type. Add a text widget inside the border. Set both alignments to the center and change the text to the letter E. Back in the horizontal box, add another text widget. Rename it Interaction Text and enable as variable. Set the vertical alignment to the center and change the default text to interact. Finally, set the typeface to light. Open the event graph and create a new function called setInteractionText. Add a new input parameter named newText and change its type to text. Drag the interaction text variable into the graph and create a setText node from it. Connect the new text input directly to the InText pin on the setText node. This function will allow the interaction prompt text to be updated dynamically. Right-click in the content drawer, go to Blueprints and select Blueprint Interface. Rename it to BPI_interactable and then open it. Rename the default function to CanInteract. Add an input called interactor and set its type to actor object reference. Add an output called CanInteract and set its type to Boolean. This function is used to determine whether a specific actor is allowed to interact with the object. Create a new function called Interact. Add an input named Interactor and set its type to actor object reference. This function is called when the player successfully interacts with the object. Create a new function called getInteractionText. Add an output named InteractionText and set its type to text. This function returns the text that will be displayed in the interaction prompt. Create a new function called onBeginFocus. Add an input named Interactor and set its type to actor object reference. This function is called when the player starts looking at or focusing on the object. Create a new function called onEndFocus. Add an input named Interactor and set its type to actor object reference. This function is called when the player stops looking at or focusing on the object. Right-click in the content drawer, create a new blueprint class, and choose Actor component. Rename it to be PC Interaction, then open it. Create a new variable called Interaction Distance, and set its type to float. Enable Instance Editable and set the default value to 300. This controls the maximum interaction range. Create another variable called Current Interactable and set its type to Actor Object Reference. This stores the currently focused interactable actor. Create another variable called Interaction Widget class and set its type to WBP Interaction Prompt Class Reference. Enable Instance Editable and set the default value to WBP Interaction Prompt. This stores the Interaction Prompt Widget class. Create a new variable called Interaction Widget Ref and set its type to WBP Interaction Prompt Object Reference. This stores a reference to the widget. Create a new variable called Owning Character and set its type to Character Object Reference. This will store the character using this component. Create another variable called Owning Controller and set its type to Player Controller Object Reference. This stores the player's controller reference. Create another variable called TraceChannel and set its type to eTraceTypeQuery. This determines what objects the trace can detect. Create an event dispatcher called OnInteractableFound. Add an input named Interactable and set its type to Actor Object Reference. Add another input named Interaction Text and set its type to Text. This dispatcher fires when an interactable is detected. Interactable identifies the detected actor. Interaction Text provides the prompt to display. Create an event dispatcher called OnInteractableLost. This dispatcher fires when an interactable is no longer detected. Create another event dispatcher called OnInteracted. Add an input named Interactable and set its type to Actor Object Reference. This dispatcher fires when an interaction occurs. Interactable identifies the interacted actor. Create an event dispatcher called OnInteractFailed. Add an input named Interactable and set its type to Actor Object Reference. This dispatcher fires when interaction fails. Create a function called initInteraction. This function sets up the interaction system. Right-click and get Owner. From the return value, cast a character. From As Character, set Owning Character. This stores a reference to the character. From Owning Character, get Controller. From the return value, cast a Player Controller. From As Player Controller, set Owning Controller. This stores the player's controller reference. Drag in the Interaction Widget class variable and create a Create Widget node. Connect Owning Controller to the Owning Player pin. From the return value, set Interaction Widget Ref. Then call Add to Viewport. Finally, get Interaction Widget Ref, call Set Visibility, and set it to Hidden. This creates the interaction widget and hides it until an interactable object is detected. Create a new function called setCurrentInteractable. Add an input named newInteractable and set its type to actor-object-reference. Add a branch node. From newInteractable, create an equal object node and connect currentInteractable to the B pin. Connect the result to the branch condition. This checks if the interactable has changed. Drag in currentInteractable and connect it to an isValid node. Connect the false pin from the branch to the isValid node. This checks if a previous interactable exists. From currentInteractable, call on nFocus and connect it to the isValid node. For the interactor input, use getOwner. This notifies the previous interactable that focus has ended. After that, drag and set currentInteractable and connect the new interactable input to it. Also connect the not valid output to the setCurrentInteractable node. This updates the currently focused interactable. After that, add another isValid node. Drag in currentInteractable and call on beginFocus. Connect it to the isValid node and connect the interactor input to getOwner. This notifies the new interactable that focus has started. From currentInteractable, call getInteractionText. This retrieves the text for the prompt. After that, drag an interaction widget ref and call setInteractionText. Connect the interaction text output to the new text input. This updates the widget with the interaction text. From interaction widget ref, call setVisibility and set it to visible. This shows the interaction prompt widget. After that, call on interactable found. Connect currentInteractable to the interactable input and connect interaction text to the interaction text input. This notifies listeners that an interactable was found. Drag an interaction widget ref and call setVisibility. Connect it to the not valid output and set the visibility to hidden. Then call on interactable lost. This hides the prompt when no interactable is found. Create a new function called InteractionTrace. Add a setTimer by function name node. Set the function name to trace for interactable. The time to 0.1, and enable looping. This repeatedly checks for nearby interactables. Create a new function called trace for interactable. Drag an owning controller and connect it to an isValid node. From the valid output, create a line trace by channel node. From owning controller, call get player viewpoint and connect location to start. This starts the trace from the camera. From location, create and add node. From the rotation, obtain the forward vector. Then, add a multiply node using the forward vector as the input. Connect the multiply node's output to the add node. Then connect the add node's output to the end. Change the multiply B pin to float and connect interaction distance into it. This sends the trace forward by range. From the return value of the line trace, create a branch node. Drag from out hit and add a break hit result node. From the true output, add another branch. From hit actor, create a does object implement interface node and set the interface to BPI interactable. Connect the result to the branch condition. This verifies the hit actor is interactable. From the true output, call set current interactable and connect hit actor to the new interactable input. This sets the detected interactable actor. From the false output, call set current interactable and leave new interactable empty. Also connect the false output from the first branch to the same set current interactable node. This clears the interactable when none is found. Create a new function called interact. Drag in current interactable and connect it to an isValid node. From current interactable, call can interact from the BPI interactable interface and connect the interactor input to get owner. This validates the target and checks whether interaction is currently allowed. From the can interact result, create a branch node. From current interactable, call interact and connect it to the true output. Connect the interactor input to get owner. This executes the interaction when allowed. After that, call on interacted and connect current interactable to the interactable input. This broadcasts that an interaction occurred. Go back to the isNotValid output and call on interact failed. Leave the interactable input empty. This handles interaction with no valid target. Then, from the false output on the branch, call on interact failed again. Connect current interactable to the interactable input. This handles when the target rejects interaction. Go to the event graph. From event begin play, call init interaction. After that, call interaction trace. This initializes the interaction system and starts the trace checks when the game begins. Next, create a new blueprint class based on actor and name it BP Test Interactable. Add a static mesh component. For this example, enable engine content and assign a cube static mesh. Set its scale to 0.2. Open class settings, then under implemented interfaces, add BPI interactable. This allows the actor to use the interaction system. In the event graph, under the interfaces section, open get interaction text. Set the interaction text output to pickup item. This defines the prompt displayed when the player looks at the object. Open can interact and tick the can interact output. This allows the object to be interacted with. Open the Interact event. This runs when the player interacts with the object. Add a delay node and set it to 0.3. After the delay, call Destroy Actor. This waits briefly, then removes the item. Open on Begin Focus and on End Focus. These events are called when the player starts or stops looking at the object. They are great places to add visual feedback, such as outlines, highlights, glow effects, or interaction sounds. Add a print string node and set the text to started looking at item. This confirms the player has focused on the object. Add a print string node and set the text to stopped looking at item. This confirms the player is no longer focusing on the object. Finally, open your character blueprint and add the BPC interaction component. Right-click in the event graph and add the eKeyboard event. Drag in the BPC interaction component and call the interact function from the pressed output of the eKey event. This allows the player to interact with focused objects by pressing E. And that's our fully modular AAA-style interaction system complete. We now have reusable interaction logic, clean UI prompts, and a scalable setup you can easily expand across almost any Unreal Engine 5 project. If you want the full project files and future advanced systems, check out the Patreon below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.